Okay, so we're live, but nobody's here yet. So here's the recording people. I like to get it started early. Got no viewers, so it's okay. We'll just chill for a while or skip ahead 5 minutes before anything interesting happens. All the people will be coming in from live.drchuck.com in about a minute or two. And then we'll start doing interesting stuff. And I'll just be the technical guy here, working on my thingy, making sure that it all works well. Make that small. Move that down. Yeah, it's not so bad. I mean, it's surprising that this Google stuff works as well as it does. I mean, I can sort of talk and figure all this stuff out. That's gonna do it. I do wish that the questions thing would work a little better. Still no viewers. That's okay. Close that window. Still no viewers. Let's see. See if I become my own viewer in a second as a countdown finishes. It's always good for me to test my own self as a viewer. 2, 1, countdown, redirect. I have 2 viewers, one of which is me. And now I will view myself, and there we go. Okay, I'm seeing myself. I'm going to close that window so I don't waste the bandwidth. So now we have 1 viewer. So we're still 3 viewers. Okay, folks are starting to pop in now, so that's good. So hello, everybody. I'm going to be monitoring, where was the Google Plus thing? Live.drchuck.com. I will try. Hello, JL. I'm going to be trying to monitor both the Google Plus that it goes to, so you're watching under Google Plus. I'm going to monitor that. I got the questions and the answers in Google Hangouts going, and I'm watching Twitter down here at Dr. Chuck, and so we should have many forms to do questions. We're up to 6 viewers. It always takes a few minutes. It's not even noon yet, so we're 5 minutes in. While we're waiting, anybody have any interesting things to say? Perhaps not even class related. Cool stuff to test our question in either Hangouts or Plus or Twitter. Okay, let's try something. Let's see if sharing my screen works. Let me just try to share my screen just for yucks. Go back here, share my screen. We'll probably blow it up by sharing screen. Oh, we got 17 people. I'm gonna try sharing my screen. I'm gonna share that one right there. So I'm testing. So are you seeing me sharing my screen? It looks like I'm seeing that. Present to everyone, yeah. Presenting to everyone. Oh, I didn't mean to share. Yeah, I meant to share that. Where's my other window at now? Where'd that window go? Yeah, so there we are. I hope you're seeing this and you're probably seeing that. Okay, I want to stop that now. Stop that. Go back to video. Okay, that was just my little test of screen sharing on Google Plus. Go Warriors. Yeah, I guess everybody has to root a little bit for the Warriors these days. Although I'm sort of I live in Michigan, and so Detroit Pistons, not much to root for. I do root kind of for the Cleveland Cavaliers because I would like to see LeBron win to show just kind of what a dominant guy that fella is. But Steph Curry is certainly an impressive basketball player. So, okay, so let's see. Let me make sure I'm watching all my questions. Got that in case I need it. Okay, so we got 20 folks here, and more will come. But so let me just talk a little bit about things. I've changed the software. It's always dangerous 30 minutes before a online office hours to change the software. And so let me show you how the software has changed. In the courses, it changed from, oops, put that back up, screen share. I got some feedback from folks on the, so we're in the course now. I got some feedback on folks in the user interface of this view all submissions part. And so this is the new one, and it's already there. And you're not going to see all the buttons like some of the stuff I see. No, you actually see all these things. And so I decided that a lot of people were curious about seeing their own ratings. And don't worry about my particular ratings. I'm mostly testing. Don't feel bad. I don't know why I have so many ratings here. Maybe I have a bug or something. But you can go back and, oops, it's supposed to be able to sort by your rating. I got to fix that. So the idea is that you can quickly see, maybe there's a bug. This looks like it might have wrong data. That's because I haven't rated this many folks. But I will fix this. This is supposed to show your rating and allow you to sort by your rating so you can scroll down. So the other thing that I did was I made it so that you would see this in table form rather than card form. I originally wanted to be able to put a little thumbnail in the card form, but the thumbnail, the WarpWire software wasn't capable of producing the thumbnails. It would be performance costly for them to produce the thumbnails. They'll be fixed later in a later version of WarpWire, and I may go back to it. But this way, I wanted, people seem to be really spending time and being very careful. And so this clearly has a bug, and I'll have to fix this bug. It won't be hard to fix. And so that's the idea, is I changed this. And the other thing that happens is if you're on the second page and you go into a link, it should come back to the same link. I can't go into this link because I'm coming in as a teacher, and then I'd be revealing student information. But you, well, actually, let me do this. Copy link address, go here, and change that to be gallery detail. One of the things I'm doing is I'm writing this software. I do want to have a MOOC where I teach you how to write PHP, and then I want to teach you how to write this kind of software. And so if you're in somebody's, this is somebody's thing, if you go back to it, it comes back to the page that you are at. Okay, so that makes it a little easier to find the things that you haven't yet rated and rate them. But these ratings might be broken. So I'll fix that. I just fixed this. I just built this a half hour ago, and I put it in production. That's just how I roll. And so that is sort of the new look of this that I hope is more productive for us all. Okay, so let me get back to stop the screen sharing and come back. Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie's here. Stephanie, because I invited you the way I did, does it mean you can talk?
I don't know. Can I?
Wait, I probably have to turn my, are you trying to talk, Stephanie? Or do I click on you? I clicked on you, Stephanie.
I heard something. My voice is kind of gone, so.
I don't know why I can't hear you. Say something again, Stephanie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. That was because I had my computer on mute. That's
Gotcha.
awesome. That's super awesome that I can actually include you on this. Hello, everyone. If you haven't met Stephanie yet, this is Stephanie. She's one of our, she's a University of Michigan, recently graduated with a master's degree at University of Michigan School of Information, where I'm from. And so she is going to be doing some of the, she's going to be helping, she's been helping me all along in this class, but now she's going to be helping even more now that she's graduated, and help in giving some details. So Stephanie, say hi, say whatever you want.
Sorry, I've lost my voice a little bit, so I probably shouldn't talk too much. But
Okay.
hi, I'm Stephanie. I just graduated, and I took Dr. Chuck's Python class and his databases class on the University of Michigan campus.
Cool. Yeah. So Stephanie started out in SI 502, which is the class that you all in this Capstone are basically finishing. It's the online kind of self-paced version of SI 502. And Stephanie also took SI 664, which is that PHP class that I keep dreaming about getting onto Coursera. And hopefully that'll be one of my summer tasks. So, so let me get to questions and answers. Still don't have any questions. Oh, Martin from Estonia. Loved your course. Completed the Capstone. Did you see me when? Did I meet you, Martin, when I was in Estonia? We don't have any questions. Oh, Sarah, I can't see the new look just the same. I can hear Stephanie. Okay, so Sarah, thanks. Okay, so we can see the screen, so that's good. So I'm testing that, and I will want to be able to demonstrate things. But hey, if you guys don't have any questions, this is going to be really boring. How are we doing? What do you think? Tell me how we can improve. Am I coming to California anytime soon? No, I'm working on a trip to Seattle, though. I'm working on a trip to Seattle to do some video production in Seattle. I'm going to be in New York City soon. I'm I'm going to be in Mammoth Cave in Kentucky soon, but I don't think I don't think that there's going to be enough students near Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. So I wasn't thinking maybe I'll have office hours at Mammoth Cave. I don't know. Maybe I'll figure something out. But I wouldn't. I've had office hours in smaller places and nobody shows up just because there's not enough people. Even though I will be sending email to 500,000 people, there just isn't enough people within a 20-mile radius of Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, to show up at an office hour. So, but I used to go to California a lot, and I haven't been even in the San Francisco area in like a year and a half, and that's like so totally weird for me. And I'd like to get there. Sue, our CTA and course operation liaison, Sue Blumenberg, she lives there, and so we always get together and have office hours together whenever I come to California. But it has been a while, and so actually the last time I was in California, you can see in office hours in the list of office hours where Sue and I were there and had a ton of people. And so yeah. Let's see, any questions? Okay. Well, we have no questions, so it's just not very exciting. We have 21 viewers. So C. Austin, seeing this course is almost finished, what other courses would you recommend? What other courses are you teaching? So I'm not teaching anything else until I invent a follow-on course. And I am this summer going to split my time between redoing this course, the current course in Python 3 and doing the Python PHP course. And so we'll see, I'll have something. I really think that while it's not ideal, I think the next thing to do is to take a different beginning Python class. One of the complaints about this class is that it has too much scaffolding. And because it has too much scaffolding, you know a lot, but you're not like mastering it. You haven't mastered it. And I've thought a lot about that. Stephanie's thought a lot about that. We've all thought, my teaching assistants think about that. It's just a trade-off of how far can you get using, you can get so much farther with scaffolding. And I mean by sample code, et cetera, et cetera. You get so much farther by scaffolding than you can by, if I just sort of was hardcore and said, you got to write everything, no one would have gotten, very few would have gotten this far except those people who already had skills with programming. So one of the thoughts I've had, and you can tell me if you think this is a good idea, is to teach the exact same course again, except super fast, not super fast, like twice as fast or 3 times faster, and no sample code. And here's the same exact lectures, and the assignments are just tougher. And there is no sample code whatsoever, and you just have to write them all. And so, tell me what you think. Stephanie, I think I have to click on you and then you can talk. What do you think, Stephanie?
I think it would be an interesting experiment to see. I think it would be hard, like really hard, but you providing sample code has always been made it easier for me to learn, I know. So it would be an interesting thing to see. It might be interesting to do it like a test pilot of it, to see, have a few students do it to see how it goes and how they learn.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Oh, it looks like the way it works is if you talk, it shows you, and if I talk, it shows me, and I don't even have to click on you. So that's cool. Yeah, so that makes that a little easier. I'm not having to be the switcher guy. Yeah, that's an idea, Stephanie. I mean, and we might even do something. You could do something like go back to the start of course 3, for example, and instead of starting at course 1, sort of start at course 3. And I don't. When you took SI 502, did I ever give you guys the mean final in addition to the norm? I mean, the mean midterm in addition to the normal midterm?
No.
Okay, because that's one thing I've done some years is people are like, oh, that midterm was too easy. And I'm like, okay, then I will give you an optional mean midterm, right? That says this is the assignment that is a mean, it's the same learning objectives, same concepts, and I'm just going to make it tougher. And if you really want to do the tougher assignment, go ahead and do the tougher assignment. And literally, I could do that. I could make a whole series of parallel assignments that are like follow the learning objectives right along, make them tougher, and just no scaffolding, and just work harder. Interesting. So which Python do I prefer from Martin? Python 2 or Python 3? I'm familiar with the Python class at University of Tartu, Python 3. I do like Python 3 better. I really do. Change is always tough. You get used to something and then things change. I do feel when I'm done with Python 3 code and I kind of look at it, it looks a little more like grown-up code. And so I do like Python 3, and so I will be enjoying moving the class to Python 3, and I enjoy I've been forcing myself to write new stuff in Python 3, and I definitely enjoy that. So yeah, and so in terms of Python course recommendations, to the following: the standard Code Academy, right, and the RICE class. The RICE class is going to have no scaffolding. It's going to start at the beginning, but have no scaffolding, and expect it to be tougher. And I think the mistake to make is to try to go into a second class, to treat this as a complete first class, but instead go back and take another first class. And literally, you could take another language, like a Java class, that's the beginning Java class that is not even Python, and you would probably gain from that a lot. That would just make you a stronger programmer, rather than like you will find that if you take a beginning Java class, that at the end of that, they will have taught you a small fraction of what we taught you. They won't teach you databases. They won't teach you XML. They won't teach you JSON. They won't teach you how to retrieve web pages and parse them. They won't teach you anything, but they will teach you how to program better. They'll do some silly, a card game or something, but there'll be lots of code to write. Lots of code to write. But Jael, you say you don't want to be a coder, but the key thing is it's not so much that you want to be a coder for the rest of your life, and I agree that there's very few people that really want to code all the time. I'm not even a coder, right? I probably write code 20% of the time. I write code to relax as much as anything else. But you do want to master it, right? You want to like be a ninja warrior and be able to like whoosh, 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 and you want to be good at it. And so because if you're not good at it, then if you're not good at it, then it's harder to do. And so I wouldn't say like take a whole computer science thing where you're learning about operating systems and paging and all file systems and all that stuff. So that's sort of why I want you to take sort of a harder class, like a Java class, or beginning first Java class, or a first C class, or a first C++ class, and start at the beginning. And even if you take a first Java class and you finish the first Java class, then I would say the next thing to do is take a first JavaScript class, right? And learn more languages, and just to the point where the concept of taking a problem and turning it into a program is a very abstract and beautiful concept, and it's really hard to explain. But after you've learned 3 programming languages, you'll know it, and you won't know how you figured it out. So Chuck's courses are the most fun, but the Rice professors are too. As a matter of fact, I agree with that. I took the Rice class, I didn't finish it, and I really love the vibe of the Rice professors. And I learned from the Rice professors about how to teach. I learned from the Rice professors about my auto grader, and so I owe a great debt of gratitude to the Rice courses because they really led me in a good direction for this class, and that's why I'm always sending everybody to the Rice class after my class. Yeah, you can't do wrong. You can't go wrong with the Rice class. But like Rudy is saying, expect to work hard in the Rice class. Expect to work hard from the first week. Expect it's going to be a few hours. It's not like my stuff where you kind of got it and I'm on to the next thing. My whole idea was to expose you to stuff in this class, not to make you a wizard at it, because it just takes so much longer to become a wizard at this stuff than it does to become sort of so Jolita. So in January of this year, I knew nothing about Python. Right now, I'm started the Capstone. I'm so excited and grateful for this class. I'm going to learn other languages like R. Any idea of coming to Rome soon? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Rome. I love Rome. Oh, which JL? I did the MIT class. Which one is that? That's an edX class, I'm going to guess. What is the exact name of that so I can tell people? Is that 6 dot something? There's a Python, MIT Python class. Rice was much fun, although I didn't finish it. Not much time. Yep, same as me. Same as me. Yeah, someone was saying, talking about R. I think R is another great language to learn next, especially if you're interested in data. And R is going to take you in a whole different direction because it's sort of low-level model is a little bit differently, and it runs a little bit differently. Sarah, I have a question about the visualization of geolocation data. I can fill the where.js file, but no data goes to where.html. Okay, so the key to any of those things, I don't know if I can sort of whip this up in a hurry, just sitting here. The key to any of those visualizations, let's see if I can make this happen really quick. Applications, MAMP, htdocs, Python learn. Okay. So I'm gonna share a bit of my screen here. I don't know how much to share my screen. Let me share a screen. I have to share a couple of different things. I'll share this one first. Okay, so here's my geodata, right? You got a where.js file, right? And you got a where.html file. And open where.html. Now I got to switch. Okay, so here you go. I'm going to switch and share my other screen and then tell you what you got to do when things aren't working. And I probably should change this. Stop. No, not that. Question, not that, not that. Too many clicky things here. I don't know if you saw that or not. Share. Present to everybody. Now I'm screen sharing to everybody. Okay, so here's where.html that you're probably seeing. Make it a little smaller so it kind of zooms up. Pull this down. Okay, so this one happens to work. I'll try to figure out a way to break it in a second. And the thing that you've got to do is you got to say View Developer Console. And different browsers have this in different places. But this is sort of where we nerds get everything figured out. And so this is all kinds of things. You can see what files are being transferred back and forth. You know, if I hit refresh, okay. You can see that it's reading all these files, and you can scroll back and forth. It takes a little bit of time, and if you're going to do any kind of visualization with D3.js, you're going to get used to this, and you're going to break in here. And so the most important first thing to do is to look in console. Now I'm going to go into another screen, and I'm going to make a mistake in where.js. So you won't see this. I'm going to just edit where.js and make a little tiny syntax error in it. I'm going to take out one thing, and then I'm going to hit refresh, and this is just going to fail horribly. Okay, so I made a mistake inside of where.js, and it's complaining to me, right? Where.js 12, unexpected token, semicolon. It just happens that it was a good error. And if I look at it, I can even see here, I just deleted, there's a square brace that I deleted here. And so that might not be your mistake, right? But if you write your where.js and the where.js is not the right syntax, which might be a common thing to do, you might see it here, or you might see something else. And so when something fails here in like where.html, you need to get this console up and see what it's complaining about. And so the second thing of my data is not defined. That was sort of a follow-on to, I was trying to load the data from where.js and define a variable called my data in the JavaScript. And so that's the kind of thing, Sarah, that you've got to look at and you got to figure out when it doesn't work. And so that and so then when you ask that in the forums, we almost immediately say, could you take a screenshot that looks like this, right? And so we'll say, oh, look here, and then say, okay, show me what's in your where.js, and then we'll say, okay, you know, and that kind of stuff. And that's how we walk through finding when it's kind of blank or not working. And so that's it. So let me fix my where.js and hit refresh and have it work just fine. Okay. So now it's working just fine. So that kind of an idea of a screenshot. And so now it's working. You look in the console, you see no red error messages. You look in the somewhere where.js. And so that's part of it, is just sort of walk through all this stuff, get it figured out in here. And this is sort of debugging. Part of the reason that I don't teach a JavaScript class as the very first class is because this is too hard. This is sort of scary, and JavaScript is built into every browser. It'd be a great language to use as a first programming language, but this to me is just a little too complex, and that's why we're doing this at the very end of the capstone. But that's a new thing to learn in my PHP MySQL class in the future, that we will learn about this, and we'll spend a lot of time in this console. And that's a big part of any kind of web-based application, is the mastery of this console. So Sarah, I hope that helps. So let's see if Sarah has another thing. I did the Code Academy course to give you more practice. Oh, that's a different question. Okay, so I'll stop screen sharing and get back to the picture. And so I hope, Sarah, that answered your question a little bit about how to debug a where.html/where.js problem. And you said that you took a Code Academy course at the same time to give you more practice exercise. Absolutely, thumbs up on that. I completely agree. Oh, Jayton is liking our YouTube video as we're live. So that's cool. Thank you, Jayton, for the little YouTube video like. Let's see what else we got. Oops. I don't want my email up. We don't need that. Okay. Oh, the flip clock. Martin, you like the flip clock? I can't take credit for that. I made the little live guy out of the flip clock, but I didn't do flip clock. I love making things that have flip clocks. I have a couple that are like counting down to months from now, right? And so yeah, so flip clock is a lot of fun. Okay, so JL tells us that a great class to take after this one is Introduction to Computational Thinking and Data Science, MIT 6.1 and 6.2, 6001 and 6002 on edX. Yeah, that's probably one of the more popular classes on all of edX, and probably a great class to take after this one. Learn 3 languages to understand how to solve problem solving from Chad. Okay, how about Python, PowerShell, and SQL? Or do you think it needs to be compiled languages versus scripting? First off, nothing about compiled language. I'm not a compiled language sort of haughty compiled language person. Scripting languages are so fast and so super awesome that it's way past the point in time. There is a time in your career to learn compiled languages, but that's when you're doing things like you're going to write Python itself. You write that in a compiled language. You don't write Python in a scripted language. You write Python in a compiled language. But so Python, PowerShell, and SQL. I don't know about PowerShell. I don't even know what it is, but I don't know. Python, SQL, I would say JavaScript. And to some degree, that's what this course has touched on, because these days it's getting harder and harder to avoid touching JavaScript, right? Because so much of the work we do that's UI based is in the browser, and HTML and CSS are great in the browser, but to do anything interesting, you got to do JavaScript. So to me, you got to get quickly to JavaScript. And I think I'm going to teach this class on PHP, MySQL, JavaScript, jQuery, and in 5 years or 3 years, I won't even be teaching PHP anymore. It'll be just JavaScript and Node.js. And so the class I want to teach after that is Node.js. And then the interesting thing becomes, if the server language for web applications becomes JavaScript through Node.js, and then the further iteration of Node.js, then you end up with this really beautiful situation of like you got your data analysis offline kinds of applications like Python and R, and SQL, of course, is part of all of it. And then your online stuff for your interactive applications is JavaScript in the browser, and then JavaScript even in the server with Node.js. And then you end up with kind of a pretty picture, right? Java sort of fades away, PHP sort of fades away, and JavaScript takes over. I'm sure others would have a different view on that. I tend to have a curmudgeonly view. I don't like the newest, latest, sexiest thing. I like things that are old and consistent and not changing too rapidly. And so that's why Node.js to me is a little premature, but I think if it becomes old, if Node lasts long enough to become boring, then I think Node could easily displace Java and PHP in the server. So back to Chad's question, what are the 3 languages? I'd say Python, JavaScript, and SQL. That'd be my 3 languages, the first 3 languages that I would teach. Although that's not the way I do it. I teach currently PHP because JavaScript hasn't quite dominated the server side, because there's still lots of server side things like Scala and Go and whole bunches of things that are probably Ruby on Rails. They're probably flashes in the pan by the time it's all said and done. Let's see. Rice Python courses are more than intermediate, from Shafe. I have to agree. The Rice courses have a different philosophy than my course. My course is I want to teach people who are afraid of programming how to program. The Rice course is you're beginning a computer science curriculum, and you might as well get used to it, and you might as well get good at it. And so yeah, so I'd agree with that. They're kind of beginning computer science courses, but they're certainly intermediate courses for random technologists who just want to learn a bit more about programming. Now let's see, we got some questions we got no questions these days inside of Google, the Google Hangout questions. We used to have a bunch of those, but are getting a bunch on Twitter and getting a bunch on Google+. So, oh, yikes. Oh, Catalina, it's good to see you again. I assume you saw the video of yourself. I assume you saw the video of yourself out of the Netherlands. I don't know if you saw the video from Houston last weekend. We mentioned you. We mentioned you in Houston because it was very similar. We're kind of in a tent-like area, and we had a big circle of people. And the only difference is we weren't freezing to death. We were freezing to death in the Netherlands because we didn't realize that we could turn the heat on in the Netherlands until we were all done. So we sort of froze our way through that whole evening. So you didn't like the one in Duke, and I don't have any experience. I know some people from Duke. I think I know some of the people that actually teach that class in Duke. I'm sorry that didn't work out for you. That probably just means that I need to teach a Java class too. So so much to teach, so little time, but that's okay. I'm actually working on a whole new way of recording lectures, and so I'm trying to work with I'm probably going to buy a Microsoft Surface 4 and carry a camera around and then record with a camera and then scribble on the Surface 4, so I can pretty much do a lecture anywhere, high quality lecture anywhere. And so part of what I'm trying to do is to make it so I, as a teacher, can make these things so rapidly and so easily that that I can make a lot of them, because that's really what I'm trying to figure out. And even trying to figure out in this capstone is how we can. I mean, one of the questions that hasn't yet been asked yet. That's because everyone's in the capstone. Is when's the next capstone? That's a question that lots of people have been asking in all the classes except the capstone, because the people in the capstone are in the capstone. And so part of the problem with that is, how hard is it to do the capstone? And if the capstone takes me too much time and I can't build new courses and I have to do a capstone like every 4 weeks without fail, and it takes me 20 hours a week to do a capstone, then that's not going to work very well. It doesn't scale very well. So and so part of this whole capstone thing, and other faculty at University of Michigan are watching this capstone to figure out how to do it. And so one of the things that we realized is we needed somebody to work that's going to do a better job of monitoring your assignments, and that is Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie waves back, but she didn't say anything, so you don't get to see her. So because her voice is broken. And so the idea is that we can do these capstones. If we can come up with the right kind of staffing, then we can do these capstones a lot more often. I don't mind doing office hours. I love doing office hours. They're a lot of fun. But grading and watching the stuff that you guys produce, that's a lot of hours, and it's hard for me to do. So we will, I hope, if everything goes well, Stephanie and I will have an office hours. Oh, crap, I got to go check my schedule. It's either Wednesday or Thursday of next week.
Thursday.
Thursday, okay. So Stephanie and I are going to be, we're going to look at your stuff, and we're going to have an office hours on Thursday next week. And so that's what we'll do. And that, I think that's going to work out really well to have someone like Stephanie helping me. And it means that you will get a better feedback on the work that you're doing, and we'll be able to sort of show and feature things, which is what I wanted to do. And once we get a model and a thing that's sort of not painful and sustainable that can make these capstones work, then we can do them far more often. And then each specialization comes up actually pretty fast. If I can make the lecture recording part really easy, the autograder part really easy. So for me, that's part of my research, is to make all of this stuff easy and work at scale. And so that I'm an educational technology person that is trying to fix the technology in a way that makes it easy to do what we're doing in these classes and make it so that this scales a lot. And for me personally, that means I want to make 10, 20 classes by the, in the next 5 years. And how can I do that? And how can I do that in a way that doesn't make each class be 20 hours a week for me while it's running? And because I can't make a Java class and JavaScript in a class and a PHP class and all these other classes if we can't scale. But we're working on it, and we're being successful. I'm really amazed at how quickly we run into a problem and then we solve it. So, okay. So I don't have any suggestions for the Java class, which was your original question, Catalina. If the Duke one doesn't work, I don't know what to do other than make my own. Because the Duke people are good people and they're nice. So let's see what else we got. We are running out of questions. I would ask Stephanie to give a speech, but her voice is bad. So here's something. So tell me in the forums, in the chat rooms, how much time do you spend looking at other people's assignments? Because that was a question I had. I mean, we just invented this thing so you can look at other people's stuff. How much do you do that? And do you get anything good out of it? Is there value from it? What do you like? What do you don't like about that? What do you think? I mean, it's what I wanted. I wanted you to learn from each other. That's how I designed all that stuff. Everyone's shy. We only have 27 people. It's like sitting in a classroom for 27 people. That's how big we are right now. Okay, well, I think I'll ask about that somehow in the forums, or once Stephanie comes up to speed and we catch kind of up with looking at the stuff we've got. I mean, I really want to improve the class each time we do it, make it easier to do, make it more fun, make it more, you know, sustainable, not overwhelm us or anybody. And so that's part of it, is to make it so this is easy, because I want to do more stuff. Huh. Well, oh, Chad has a thing. I haven't taken the opportunity to review other people's code. Perhaps I should. Chad, I appreciate your honesty, right? That's why I asked the question, right? I'm not fishing for untruths to make me feel good, right? I'm trying to understand. I'm truly trying to understand, and so, yeah, reviewing other people's code. We even give them a way to give you the code to look at their stuff. Maybe I should come up with a way for that too. Write myself a note. How to share code. Oh, so Martin got some good ideas. Martin, how many did you view? How many videos did you view? How much time did you spend viewing on the videos? Oh, Sarah. Okay, so Sarah, you watched them and learned a lot and helped you write your own code. Really? Did they show code in those videos? I wish I could just put you up here and put you guys. Maybe I'll find a way to do that. I don't know how. I think Google Hangouts has a limit of like 4 or 5 people who can originate, which is unfortunate because we can't put all 27 in a situation to originate. So it sounds like some people are getting something out of it, which is good. I mean, for me, that's good. I'm excited about that because the first time through, I assume I'm going to fail, right? I assume it's going to work. It's not going to work. And if it works, then it's all upside from there. It's all like plus. It's only good. Okay, well, it looks like we're kind of running out of things to talk about, which is perfectly fine. One thing came in on Twitter. Saw some good ideas for getting data. I wanted to gather data about women in math, but I haven't been able to find enough. Those are tough. Yeah, those kinds of questions, which are like cool questions, finding the data for starting with a cool question and trying to find the data to support a cool question is really quite difficult. You might play a little bit with that Wolfram thing. What is that Wolfram thing? The Wolfram artificial intelligence screencast-o-matic. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's one of the things we were talking about in our staff meeting about maybe giving you getting you free licenses to Camtasia or something like that you could use to record your stuff. So that's another thing we're thinking about. Screen-o-matic. Let me look that up on Screen-o-matic. Screencast-o-matic. Wait a second. I had a piece of software called Sync-o-matic in 1999. I'm sure they stole my name. It's pretty awesome. Oh, it's free to use, but it's pretty awesome for $15 a year. Cool. Paul, I've greatly enjoyed the Python courses. My first Coursera course, I'm spoiled by taking the best one first. Well, thanks for that. I would take Learning to Learn, and you'll have if you take Learning to Learn, then you will see a better course, because Barbara Oakley does a better job than me. She's actually coming to our campus tomorrow. Stephanie, do you know about that? No, so Barbara Oakley is coming to our campus tomorrow and going to be giving some talks tomorrow morning. I'll send you an email about it. Are you around? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I'll send you an email. I'll be down having lunch with her. So Paul, if you want a better class, Learning to Learn on Coursera. is the most popular class in the world. I'm like the third most popular class in the world. She's well-deserved and awesome. Just curious, how would I compare the content and difficulty of taking the Coursera class all the way through, including the capstone, versus a class at the University of Michigan? Well, we have to answer that question versus an exact class at the University of Michigan. That would be SI 502. And I will turn that over to Stephanie.
So can you repeat the question?
So the question, Stephanie, is compare the difficulty of taking all 4 of the classes plus the capstone to taking SI 502.
Well, we don't really do a capstone-like project in 502, so that makes it a little more difficult, but I think in a good way. Like, I think it's a really good project to have at the end because it really helps you test what you've learned. As far as the 4 Python courses go, I would say it's probably a little more difficult to do a Coursera course because you're not like in a class where you can like turn to the person next to you and be like, did you understand that? Plus, I mean, you guys have the mentors, which is great, and they answer your questions in the forums. Great, but sometimes it's nice to have that one-on-one, face-to-face interaction. So I think the Coursera courses are a little harder just because you don't have as much personal interaction with people.
So I would add to that. I agree with Stephanie. We are at the point when we used to have the 10-week class a year and a half ago before we did the capstone. I mean, did for before we did the 4 courses in the specialization and the capstone. We used to let people who took the Coursera class come into SI 502. We're at the point now where we are not going to let them take SI 502. If they finish this capstone, we really don't want you to take SI 502 because you are so bored at that point. You are so ahead of everybody else that you make everyone else feel bad. And so really the only difference I would say at this point, the only material difference between the capstone and all of SI 502 is the fact that it's SI 502 is done more rapidly. And so if you would go from course 1 through the end of the capstone and you could do it all in 15 weeks, then you pretty much are doing exactly what we do on campus. And so I think the biggest difference is a difference of pacing. And so now SI 502 is an early class in our master's program, right? And it's a class that is designed to bring people up to speed. It's not, you wouldn't compare that to so SI 500, for example, or SI 501, which are very different classes and very difficult, right? So SI 502 is, you can compare it to SI 502, but that doesn't tell you much about the difficulty of the rest of the classes that you'd be taking. But it is now, given all 5 classes, it is now, I think, a complete, and the other thing that's interesting is in the fall at Michigan, we're actually adding a course, which is SI 506, which is the harder version of a beginning Python class. So when you come into Michigan, you would come in and you wouldn't take SI 502, but we have the perfect next class, which I haven't yet taught yet. We haven't yet taught. Maybe we could turn that into a MOOC. I won't be teaching SI 506. I just teach SI 502. And so SI 506 is that perfect next Python class that focuses on data mining and less scaffolding and more challenging and more rapid pace. And if you know nothing about programming, you aren't going to do well in that class. But if you have taken this MOOC, then you would do well in that class. And if you take SI 502 on campus, then you would do well in that SI 506 class. So we are evolving our on-campus curriculum to address, to adjust to this notion that we need another class after this class. This class itself is, and so, and just to answer, Paul, your bigger question, the bigger difference between on-campus classes and Coursera classes in general, I would say, is generally pace, and that is that we push you really, really hard in on-campus classes. And it's even worse because 4 professors, you're taking 4 or 5 classes, and all 4 professors are sort of like we're rushing through the material because we only have 15 weeks. You only have 15 weeks. We only have 15 weeks. The Coursera is this wonderful luxury of if you can do it in 15 weeks, great. If it takes you 35 weeks, that's great too. And that is a thing that is magical about Coursera, in my opinion, absolutely magical. And so I don't, you know, you get to the point where I'm so impressed with how hard you all work and the dedication you do, and the fact that it takes you much longer sometimes. And we're not sitting there pressuring you and saying, work, 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 work. Friday, it's due on Friday at midnight, and you lose all your points if you don't get anything. And yet you stay with it. And so that to me is the most interesting thing about this whole movement, is the fact that you can learn without being placed under that same fierce, ferocious pressure. And I think if we're going to learn anything in the next 15 to 20 years, it's the notion of, is it possible for people to learn without that kind of difficult pressure, with all these like hard consequences? You're 1 minute late and you lose 20%. You're 24 hours late and you lose 40%. I mean, it's fierce. And the reason it's fierce is not because all faculty sort of have this like defect that they hate people and they want to be mean. It's the fact that you come to our university and you pay us money and you expect that at the end of a year or two that you're going to have an education. And if we let you just kind of sit around and learn at your own pace, you will have spent $60,000 for room, board, and tuition, and you won't have learned anything because we let you learn at your own pace. And so part of our job when you come is to say, okay, focus, do it, and don't be lazy. And if you pay us money, we took your money, and you're getting, if you are lazy, you get nothing. You have to pay the money again. And so it's a way to get students' attention, and it's not just to be mean. I mean, you realize after a while you just got to do it, and otherwise the high prices that we charge for education are not worth it unless we put you under pressure. And I don't mean just one class, I mean 4 classes. And so take right now it's nominally 25 to 28 weeks to go through all of Coursera, right? All of my specialization. Squeeze that down to 15 weeks and then multiply it by 4. And that would be multiplied by maybe 6, because this is an easier class than the average class in our master's program. Multiply it by 6, but do it in 15 weeks, and understand that there'll be a deadline. There'll be deadlines in every one of those things that will be unnegotiable. And that's what a college experience is like. And that's why you don't see a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds in Coursera classes. You see often 13 through 16-year-olds. You see people in the 24 to and later, but you don't see a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds because they're all busy working on that kind of environment and they don't have any time. And as soon as the semester's over, you just fall asleep, right? I'm assuming, Stephanie, that as soon as the graduation was done, you went home and took a really long nap and just kind of curled up and had some cocoa and said, thank God that's all over. Was that a fair, accurate representation?
I would say yes, that's an accurate representation.
And so that's because it's such a peak experience that, and it's the same for faculty, right? I go take a nap too afterwards. I'm like, oh, thank heaven, all my grades are in. You know, we faculty are as relieved for the semester to be over as students are. And so, so that's a good question. C. Austin, it's an off-topic question. Do you know anything about quantum cryptography? I'm writing a paper presentation about the subject and would be grateful for any information. So it turns out that a month ago I knew absolutely nothing about quantum cryptography, but in this role I do for IEEE Computer Magazine, I was talking to folks at NIST about I might go to Washington, D.C. and do another interview at NIST, and they suggested that I come and talk about quantum cryptography. And I'm like, what? What's quantum cryptography? And so what I learned about quantum cryptography is that quantum cryptography is the notion that someday quantum computers will make what we think of as the public-private key. And Internet History, Technology, Security, later lectures talk about the public-private key and the need to factor large prime number, factor almost prime numbers that are very, very long, and the belief that at some point, we don't know when, quantum computers will make it so that we can do that mathematical factoring very rapidly. And so the question of quantum cryptography is not how to do cryptography using quantum computers, but it is how to build a cryptography system that is resistant to the quantum computers when and if they finally exist. And it turns out it's a kind of a clever thing, right? You don't have to argue. It's a different argument. Like, is quantum computing ever going to happen? That's a fun argument to have. I'm an old grumpy guy, and I say, no, it'll never happen. But that doesn't mean it won't happen. That just means that one grumpy guy thinks it's never going to happen. Just like artificial intelligence is never going to happen. But now I do talk to my phone and ask it to make calls for me. So artificial intelligence has happened, even though I don't believe it, right? So never put too much stock in one grumpy dude's opinion, right? So I think quantum computing is a ways away in terms of its ability to solve general purpose problems. But that's not what quantum cryptography is about. Quantum cryptography is, if it happens, are we ready for it from a cryptography perspective? And so I found a really good Wikipedia article on quantum cryptography that really is like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And you can actually solve the problem of quantum cryptography before quantum computers exist, because you just assume them. You say, like, oh, of course. They solved this one problem that we think now is unsolvable with normal computers. That solves really easy. So what are you going to do? And so they've actually done some really good work. There's really good work on quantum cryptography. So Chad, I see that you're from the Columbus area. Sorry about that. Learning at my own pace is fantastic, and relaxed deadlines in the Capstone. My job requires 56 hours a week in addition to being on call. Absolutely. That is the magic, I think, of MOOCs, right? You do not have to. And honestly, when we started MOOCs in 2012, we did not do it this way. This is some of the innovations that Coursera has figured out over the years, that these 5-week courses with the ability to drop out and come back in, and the notion that the deadlines aren't week to week to week to week, and that we found that we would lose people because they took a vacation, right? You need to sometimes take a week off. Maybe it's because you're taking a family vacation, or maybe you got something at work or something, right? And so these 5-week classes that really are 6 weeks with an extra week of padding and no real nasty deadlines in the middle, turns out that's great. And it allows you to really customize how you learn. And some people go through this class they can go, because they already know Python and they just want the certificate. So they roar through all 4 classes in like 8 weeks, right? And then other people will take class 1 and over and over and over again. And so it is a wonderful thing. And I am firmly of the belief that we have not yet begun to see the wonderful benefit of this new teaching model. Yeah, curious, see, Austin, what you find out about quantum cryptography. I probably will find my way down to Washington, D.C. and make a video about it, and then add it to my internet history class and write up an article on IEEE Computer about it. But it's fascinating, especially from a guy's perspective that thinks quantum computing is a bit of a science fiction still. You know, they're doing stuff, but it's just not as general purpose as it could be. So, okay, let's check Twitter. Yeah, Sarah says, paying for the Coursera MOOCs is motivating too, but it's not the only motivation by far. Yeah, yeah, I agree. One of the things that I've noticed over the last, since 3+ years I've been doing it, is the number of people paying for certificates per student enrolled has gone up. And I think there's at least two reasons for that. One is I think the quality of the experience is higher. Meaning this notion of, you know, we've changed the deadlines. We have these 5-week classes. You can re-enroll as many times as you want. I think we found ways to meet people where they're at in terms of their teaching and learning. So the notion of paying money and then having this 10-week thing at the end, if you miss by a week, you just wasted your money. You pay your money and you can try, or you can zoom through all that stuff. I think we've made it a better value. And I do think that people are realizing the value of putting certificates into their LinkedIn profile, and that value seems to be holding. You know, it's really hard to get certain certificates, like a Microsoft certified engineer or a Cisco network engineer certificate. These are, you know, a year's worth of work and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And it's sad that they make them so difficult to get. And these certificates that we're giving out in Coursera are more approachable. And of course, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a Python certificate from Coursera and get a job the next day, but at least it's a tangible bit of evidence that you actually are not completely unskilled technically, right? It doesn't mean that you're ready for anything or you're gonna be the greatest programmer that ever lived, but it's something that's easier to achieve than like a Microsoft certification, which is at least a semester of work, and then you take a really nasty question, a really nasty test. And so, you know, for better for worse, these Coursera certificates are these achievable things, and you can stack them up a little bit. And so, especially in technology classes, the certificates are a great thing. And they're certainly doing some experimenting with the cost of certificates. Some certificates are cheaper than others. I think they're like ranging from, well, the highest I've got is $99 for the Capstone, and the lowest I've seen is like Colleen's HTML class is $49. I think there should be $25 certificates for things like the poetry class, right? Where the value is not something you're going to put in your resume as much as something that you're going to just, it's a personal achievement and something that you feel good about. And I think that that we need to come up with a way to value those things, not overcharge for things. And I'm sure Coursera is working on that, trying to figure out the right price for all these things. I took LHTL and it was indeed fab. And learning how to learn. Enjoy my lunch with Barb. Yeah. Everyone loves Barbara Oakley. Everyone absolutely loves Barbara Oakley because she's just awesome. So Sarah, have you ever went and looked up Barbara Oakley's kind of backstory? You know, just go look up Barbara Oakley and because she's from Oakland University, and you can look her up. I'll just give you some clues. She spent a portion of her life on a Russian trawler translating Russian in like north of Siberia or something. And then she met her husband in Antarctica, and she is like she's got a PhD in something engineering. And like she's just badass is probably the best way to describe her. She's such an awesome person. She's done so many awesome things. And yet when she teaches this learning how to learn class, she's just this sweet, huggable, like totally approachable, awesome person that has like zombies moving around on the screen. And just don't just look at her from learning how to learn, but then look at who she is and figure out like how awesome she is and what her awesome history is, and you know how smart she is, and yeah, learning how to learn is great, but that just is the beginning of who Barbara Oakley is. She's really awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing her tomorrow. Okay, well, we're coming up on the top of the hour. We made it. We found something to talk about. Stephanie, has anything occurred to you? Is your voice good enough to have some kind of a wrap up? I'll let you have a wrap up. No, Stephanie's not good. Our voice is not good enough. We've stressed Stephanie's voice. Well, hopefully Stephanie's voice will be back for our Thursday office hours, and then we will be able to talk more about some of the things that we've looked at on the Thursday office hours in terms of your submissions. So. Oh, okay. So you did see. I agree. Fabulous backstory. Barbara Oakley has a fabulous backstory. Just super surprising and super fun. And you think, were you really a spy? I mean, what do you mean Russian trawler and outside of Russia translating? Okay. Well, I think we will sign off. See you Thursday. See you in New York City. Someone asked when we'll be in New York City. There's this Apereo conference, which I think is like the third week in May is when I'll be in New York City. And so I will definitely have office hours in New York City, and office hours in New York City are always very, very well attended. We're kind of on the, I think you call it the Lower East Side, near New York University. So that's where we're going to be at. I'll be there for 5 days, so I'll certainly have office hours. Okay, so I think I will, I'll sign off, say goodbye, and see you on Thursday. Cheers.